Tonight on Reporting Scotland. Staff shortages in the NHS are compromising patient care, according to a survey of Scotland's nurses. And a proposal to tax tourists on the Isle of Skye to pay for facilities. But could it mean the return of the controversial bridge toll? Patient care is being compromised because of a shortage of staff, according to research carried out by the Royal College of Nursing in Scotland. The RCN consultation also uncovered concerns about the use of agency staff. Our health and social care correspondent Shelley Joffrey is here with more. Shelley.
Thanks, Sally. This is the latest in a series of warnings over staffing issues in Scotland's health service. The RCN carried out a consultation with nurses and healthcare support workers. 3,300 in Scotland responded to the survey. Half of them said patient care was compromised due to staffing shortages on their last shift. When the nurses were asked to describe what affected their ability to deliver high-quality care, a third of them reported there weren't enough registered nurses, and a quarter said there weren't enough healthcare support workers. Nearly half of all the nurses who responded said they had concerns about the mix of skills at work, and just over a third said their last shift included bank and agency staff.
There is always a place for supplementary staff, and it would be wrong to suggest that there's never a place to have bank or agency staff when that's needed. But the fact of the matter is the amount of bank and agency staff that's been used is growing, and it's growing rapidly, and that's not good enough. And I go back to the point that 50% of the nurses in Scotland who responded felt that they couldn't provide the right care, and that might simply be that the person who they work alongside doesn't know the patients, doesn't know the ward or the routine. So just having a person there isn't enough for providing good service.
Now, these were just the headline results from the consultation from a submission to Holyrood's Health Committee on next year's draft budget. More details will be released next month. But Scottish Labour has already seized on them as proof, as they see it, the SNP government is presiding over an NHS workforce crisis. The Health Secretary, Shona Robson, rejects those claims. She says the Scottish Government is working with health boards to cut the use of agency staff and promises an extra 2,600 nursing and midwifery training places by the end of this Parliament.
Shelley, thanks very much. The UK Government's been urged to scrap a controversial cap on benefits. Scottish ministers and Labour say it's unfairly targeting single parents. But ministers at Westminster say moving into work is the best way to raise living standards, and thousands of claimants have found jobs since the cap was brought in. Andrew Black reports.
This is the girls' room. They have to share a double bed.
Single mum Anne-Marie Wedderburn has a home, but it's not ideal.
So a double bed again, which I have to share away with him.
Anne-Marie moved into this Edinburgh flat after becoming homeless last month. She'd been evicted after falling behind on rent because she didn't realise her benefits had been capped.
Me, myself, feel a bit better having somewhere that we can call home. All we want to do now is settle down again. So we know, again, we're going to have to upheave everything. But at least I can feed my children.
Labour says this cap, set at £20,000 a year for households on certain benefits, targets single parents. They say it needs to go. But with public spending tight, how can it be paid for?
The reality is it's a cost-neutral exercise, because ultimately what happens is you get these people back into sustainable employment, they create tax revenue which actually offsets any additional costs associated with it.
Scottish ministers have also criticised the cap, although their opponents say not enough's being made of new devolved welfare powers. But Holyrood ministers insist they're doing as much as they can.
The idea that powers are coming to Scotland to fix the entire welfare system in Scotland, I only wish that was true, because I know for sure that we'd make a better job of it.
Nobody from the Scotland office was available for interview today. In a statement, a UK government spokesperson said lone parents who work part-time are exempt from the cap, and that where it was applied, people in Scotland can still receive benefits up to the equivalent salary of £25,000. The spokesperson added that since the policy came into force in April 2013, over 29,000 households who previously had their benefits capped have moved into work and are no longer capped. Moving into work is what Anne-Marie wants to do. She's trying to start her own business, but the uncertainty of her situation means she doesn't yet know how things may fall. Andrew Black, reporting Scotland.
There's been a call for visitors to the Isle of Skye to pay a tourist tax to help fund improvements in vital services such as parking areas and public toilets. The island's experiencing a bumper tourist season, but while that's good news for the local economy, it means that facilities on Skye are stretched to breaking point. Craig Anderson considers whether reinstating the toll barriers on the Skye Bridge is a possibility.
Another busy summer's day at the Trottenish Ridge in the north of Skye, with visitors competing for the same few parking spaces so they can head out for a walk or just appreciate the stunning scenery. Skye is booming, but the tourist bonanza has a downside. The sheer number of visitors has overwhelmed public facilities like toilets, roads and parking. One local businessman reckons it's time that tourists help pay towards improvements.
Even £1 a person at the bridge. I know it may seem a bit draconian, but if there's £1 a person, I'm sure true people wouldn't complain, and it would be put into the island economy to sort out this problem. Better toilets, better waste facilities, and better parking facilities, better roads.
Tourist levies are commonplace in many parts of the world, but not in the UK, though the authorities in Edinburgh are keen to introduce such a scheme. 4 years ago, Highland Council put forward such a proposal, though it was quickly shelved after a mauling from tourism businesses.
People can choose to go to particular attractions to have a tourism experience, but to actually physically visit a piece of Scotland, to see it, to breathe it, to experience it. We can't be charging for that type of activity.
One major stumbling block is that any local authority seeking to boost its coffers with a charge on visitors would need special legislation to allow it to collect the tax. Re-erecting the toll barriers on the Skye Bridge isn't an idea likely to go down well with the Scottish Government. Craig Anderson, reporting Scotland.